They were beaten, chained, and thrown into the darkest cell. No lights, no comfort, no apparent reason to sing. But instead of silence, the prison filled with worship. And when they praised thee, ground began to shake. Have you ever felt trapped? Like the walls are closing in, and there's no way out. It's a feeling Paul and Silas knew all too well. They were in the city of Philippi, doing what they believed was right, sharing a message of hope and love in Jesus. But doing good doesn't always lead to good circumstances. One day, after freeing a young girl from spiritual bondage, the city officials turned on them. They were falsely accused, dragged before the magistrates, and subjected to a brutal public flogging. Imagine the sharp sting of the whip, the tearing of skin, the crowd's jeers echoing in their ears. Their backs were a mess of blood and open wounds. Then, without any medical attention, they were thrown into the deepest, most secure part of the prison. A cold, damp, lightless dungeon. As if that wasn't enough, their feet were fastened into stocksy wooden restraints that made any movement agonizing. They were left there in the dark, dirty, in pain, forgotten by the world outside. Most people would have cursed their fate, cried out in despair, or fallen into a bitter silence. But Paul and Silas did something extraordinary. At midnight, the darkest hour, they didn't complain. They prayed. And then they began to sing. Think about that for a moment. Not quiet, hesitant murmurs, but loud praises to God. Their voices, raw with pain, but filled with unwavering faith, rose through the oppressive darkness. They sang hymns, songs of hope, declarations of God's goodness, right there in the middle of their suffering. The other prisoners, accustomed to groans and curses, listened in stunned silence. This wasn't a performance. It was an act of defiant worship. It was a declaration that their circumstances did not define their God. And as their voices filled that dungeon, something supernatural began to happen. Suddenly, the ground started to tremble violently. It wasn't just a minor tremor. It was a massive earthquake that shook the very foundations of the prison. The heavy iron doors swung open with a crash. The chains that bound every single prisoner rattled and fell loose. It was a miracle, a jailbreak, orchestrated by heaven itself. But here's the most incredible part. Paul and Silas didn't run. Their freedom had come, but they chose to stay. They understood that this miracle wasn't just for them. They used their newfound freedom to save someone else. The jailer, jolted awake by the earthquake, saw the open doors and panicked. Under Roman law, if a guard's prisoners escaped, he would face the same penalty they were due in this case, likely death. Assuming everyone had fled, he drew his sword, ready to take his own life to avoid public disgrace and execution. But just as he was about to end it all, a voice called out from the darkness. It was Paul. "Don't harm yourself! We are all here." Stunned, the jailer called for lights. He rushed in and saw it was true not a single prisoner was missing. Overwhelmed by the miracle and the integrity of these men, he fell trembling at their feet. The power he had wielded just hours before was gone, replaced by a desperate, soul-deep question. "Sirs," he asked, "what must I do to be saved?" And right there, in that broken open prison cell, in the middle of the night, a new life began. The jailer and his entire household heard the message of hope and believed. He washed their wounds, brought them into his home, and fed them. His fear was replaced with joy. It all happened not because Paul and Silas escaped their pain, but because they worshiped God through it. Sometimes God doesn't immediately remove us from our prison. Sometimes He fills it with His presence and our praise. True freedom isn't just about walking out of physical chains. It's about having the ability to worship while they're still on you. It's about finding hope in the heart of despair. Whatever midnight you find yourself in right now, whatever struggle, pain, or darkness surrounds you, I want to encourage you. Lift your voice anyway. Praise Him in the middle of the storm. Because when faith sings in the dark, heaven listens and the ground begins to shake. If this story touched your heart, please give this video a like and share it with someone who might need to hear it. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories that reveal timeless truths. Remember, your praise always has power. Thanks for watching.